So are you ready to PR yourself? We'll remove the mystery from all things PR, and we'll discuss everything from our top strategies to tips and tricks and everything that you can utilize to further enhance your brand or your message. I've been in media, I'm a journalist, and I'm also a publicist. I am Leah Frazier, CEO of Think3 Media, and your host for PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. Let's go. And welcome back to another episode of PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. I am your host, Leah Frazier, and we are back. And I'm doing exactly what I told you I was going to do. Upload more episodes. Okay. So I'm literally sitting at home, and as things come to my mind, I'm recording it and I'm trying to publish it quickly and get it up for you. I got a lot of incredible feedback on our last episode with Mickey Kennedy of e-releases and the real truth about newswires part 2. So go back and listen to that one if you haven't. It was amazing. I've heard from small business owners and publicists alike. So like I said, every time I hear from my colleagues, it lets me know I'm on the right track to something. So go ahead and check that out. It's been quite a busy couple of weeks for me. I actually just got back from Dubai. So I was over in the UAE for a little bit over a week and a half with one of my travel coordinators. Her name is Keena Williams. I've talked about her before. And I've actually had some folks who take her trips is like, stop publicizing Keena because we want to be able to get in and we don't want too many people to know our secret. But as someone who does public relations for small business owners, particularly those that are Black-owned businesses, or those that are in marginalized communities or underserved or undervalued. As much as I don't want to not get into a trip because I tell too many people, I really have to give this woman her kudos because how she's been able to grow her business to what it is today, taking 350 people, not 3 and not 50, but 350 people over to Dubai for close to a week's worth of activities. And her largest trip actually was many years ago at 500, is beyond incredible when she used to have another full-time job. Traveling was her passion. And the birth of her business was that she wanted to see more Black people traveling, not to be afraid to travel internationally, to take away the stigma that it's too expensive, to take away the stigma that I can only do that, once I have, the kids out the house or whatever our excuses are that kind of prevent us from doing the things that we dream about. And so she built a business that says, hey, I'm going to make it accessible for you. I'm going to make it affordable for you. I'm going to give you time to pay this thing off. I just want you to see the world so that you can broaden yourself, so you can broaden your worldview, so that your lens on living and how other people live can be expanded. And she's done that. And she's absolutely amazing. My hat goes off to Keena. This was year 2 for me. So I had a blast. People are like, oh, did you go by yourself? Kind of. Last year I traveled with 2 of my other girlfriends. This year I went to Dubai kind of by myself. My significant other actually works for her, but he knows when I went over there, I was like, we're not talking until you're off the clock. So technically there were days where we weren't together because he was actually working. And then there was days he was tired because we have activities all throughout the day. But we stayed past the trip and spent our time together, which was always nice. Long story short, he got COVID, that it is still going around. And so this little honeymoon period that we had planned for ourselves didn't quite go as planned because as soon as we found out, like, there was one day I was like, babe, you need to take a test. And he's like, no, I'm fine. I think it's the AC and allergies. You know how men are. You can't tell them nothing. And so I'm texting Keena like, he needs to take a test. He sounds absolutely awful. So good thing he had travel insurance. He got tested. It took them quite a bit. We found out middle of the day that he was positive and we had switched hotels. So then I had to switch my room. And so we really didn't get our time. But worst come, I'm grateful because he's recovered. He sounds great. And then I didn't get it. So glory be to God. But anyways, Dubai is absolutely a magical city. If you have a chance to go, please do. This time we were able to do Museum of the Future, which I've got to do some post about the city of Dubai. I have to. Reason being, if you've never been, you have to go, because this country, or this city, sorry, is all about innovation. And the myth that people have about Dubai, that it's not safe. What are some other things people say? Be careful going over there. They associate Dubai a lot with religion, which is absolutely not true. Yes. Is it a Muslim city? Absolutely. But they also have Christians. They have Buddhist temples there. There's so many different religions, but the overarching thing for the city of Dubai is literally a come as you are. We just want everybody to get along. We want a city where everybody thrives. But at the basis of that, of how they're building that out is, if we have everybody from all sorts of cultures, backgrounds, religions, spirituality, wherever, socioeconomics, wherever, that contributes to the health of our city as an innovative city, because we need all sorts of diverse people in order for Dubai to be number one in business, to be number one in entrepreneurship, to be number one in technology and innovation. So they are more welcoming than people know, because they want to be number one. And when you get over there, you realize that they are at the absolute top of their game. The top. It is unmatched. What you see on TV is but a glimpse of how booming the city of Dubai is. So if you ever have a chance, please, please, please go. And if you're going to be there, you might as well go to Abu Dhabi, which isn't as glitz and glam. I would say Dubai is more like Vegas. If you want to go and still see that opulence and still be inspired by the buildings and the architecture and the people, you can go to Abu Dhabi, and it's not as busy and popping. It's more quiet, but it's still super beautiful. So that is my spiel. We were able to go to the Museum of the Future. I was absolutely inspired by what Dubai is claiming to be the future and the things that they are doing to solve some of the world problems that we have. And they had a different level in the museum that discussed a certain world issue and then allowed you as the customer to go in and see what they are doing to solve the problem, which I thought was genius. So there was like an energy level, there was a wellness level, and of course, me being in wellness, I was just like a kid in a candy store on the wellness level. Like the technology they had to try to solve the problem of us being addicted to technology and not necessarily being in community. Like it was amazing. They had like a green level that dealt more with plants and science, and it was just a lot. So you got to go check that out. And then when we were in Abu Dhabi, we visited the Louvre. Love that. I'm a big arts person. A lot of the sculptures and things actually came from the Musée d'Orsay over in Paris. So I'm blessed enough to say that I've been to Paris before. I went to the Louvre in Paris, which that is a 2 to 3 day adventure. If you've ever been, you know what I'm talking about. In the Louvre in Abu Dhabi, I did it in about 2 hours, but I really could have stayed there all day. It was absolutely amazing. So that's just my spiel. If you have a chance to go, just go. Just do that thing. Fly Emirates. They're the absolute best airline out there, and have a blast. Stay a week or so, and then tack on other regions. Go to Cairo. You're close enough to go to some of those other areas, and then bring your butt home. All right. So moving right along, this episode just literally just popped in my head. I had a series of things happening in this past week because I did work while I was there. So, and there were some things where I was like, I want to be able to tell small business owners things that they can ask before hiring PR. There are absolutely things that you are entitled to know, because I have this discussion with business owners all the time where I'm like, just ask your publicist for this. This is not a either or. This is not a gray area. It's very black and white, the things that you are entitled to as a business owner to ask before hiring PR, and even things you're entitled to once you get into the PR relationship with your publicist or with the firm or agency. So, like I said, it was inspired by some things that I observed from a certain situation where I had to advise the individual, like, you are entitled to this information. Okay? Money doesn't switch hands until you get this information. And if you've switched hands, this information should be built into the contract. And so today's episode is 5 things you should ask before hiring PR. And I have a bonus one that could go either way, but get your pen, get your pad. This is coming from the heart. I could do more than 5 things, but these are my top 5. And in the alternative, okay, our next episode is going to be 5 things a publicist should be asking you before they engage in a relationship with you. If they're not asking you these things, the relationship should not go down on either end. So today, 5 things you should ask before hiring PR. And in the future, 5 things a publicist should be asking you. And we're going to rock and roll. If more come to mind, I'll do a part 2, a part 3, a part 4. But for right now, we're going to focus on these 5 things. So I'm going to give you some time to get your pen, get your pad, get prepped, get ready. And once we come back from this break and we hear from our sponsor, Kitcaster, we're going to get right on into it. So we'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Kitcaster. Kitcaster books you on top podcasts. How do funded startup founders attract prospects and talent? Podcast interviews. How do entrepreneurs with exits find new deals? Podcast interviews. How do C-suite execs differentiate in crowded markets? Podcast interviews. Kitcaster books you on top podcasts. Click the link in the show notes for a special offer. Celebrate good conversation.
And here we go. Okay, so 5 things you should ask before hiring PR. I don't know if this should count as my PR petty episode. Maybe, because some of y'all are out here doing the absolute most, and some of these business owners, all they want is some help, and y'all are out here acting real extra. So 5 things you should ask before hiring PR. Well, first of all, this is not one of my ones. It just popped in my head. You should be researching multiple firms or agencies before you make your decision. Because I like to tell people this relationship is like dating. We're not committing until I know we're vibing. And sometimes you do get into a relationship with a publicist, with a firm, publicist, if you're listening, with a client where down the road, they really show their ass. So they didn't really show it in the beginning. They show it like 3 months in and you're like, crap, I'm stuck with this person. It happens, right? But there are some things and some red flags you can try to identify in the beginning. It should be this back and forth dance on, do I want to engage and be in a long-term relationship with you? Okay. I don't technically know if I should be comparing it to dating because dating is absolute trash these days, but we'll theoretically in a perfect world of dating, we'll compare it to dating. Okay. So you really should be courting several agencies or publicists to figure out which one is best for you. Sometimes there's folks out here, who play publicists, who hashtag publicists, and don't often know what that means, don't often know how to strategize. Maybe they have some okay relationships, but they say everything you want to hear so that you can sign that contract and turn over that money. And it ends up being detrimental for you. It ends up being where you feel like you just dug a hole and threw your money right in and you're not getting your ROI and value. And what has happened to me, I can only speak for myself, is when you come on my step because you really truly needed a public relations plan, you're jaded with me as if I did that shit to you. And I have to pay for the other publicists and what they did to you, maybe because you didn't really court the way that you should have in the beginning. Okay. And so it makes my job difficult. Like I got to prove something to you, which kind of, but sometimes we don't want to go through all of that when we're trying to have a relationship where we work together, and then you come into the relationship jaded and it's a problem. So one of the ways to solve that, I guess this is a bonus one, is to court many at the same time, reviewing the proposals that they send to you, which then will lead me into number one. As you're reviewing those proposals and you're doing the courting process, you have a right to say, hey, my business is this in this industry. Can you provide me with examples or even case studies of similar clients and describe to me the results that were received? So just kind of giving a tip away. I don't really like to give proprietary information away, but at the back of my proposal, I have several types of case studies, just kind of depending on what the client is, that says, the client came in with this. When we did this, and that, like, here are the results. Things are measured, right? So you should be able to have something from who you're courting that shows you someone similarly in your field, or who asked for the type of plan that you're asking for, whether you're launching something, whether you have an event, whether you just want a quick buzz of press and media. That publicist or agency or firm should have some sort of case study and or example to show you this is what we've done in the past. What I am seeing is that you guys are shacking up with, you're just getting right on in bed with these folks, and they ain't showed you a test to tell you that they STD free or drama free. You're just getting on in bed with them after the first person that whispers in your ear and tells you exactly what you want to hear. I don't know where this episode is going, but I kind of like my analogies right now, so I'm going to pat myself on the back. But that's exactly what I'm seeing. Okay. You should be taking this just as seriously. This is your money. This is your coin. This is what you live and breathe and you work your ass off for. You should just not be handing it over to the first person that tells you what you want to hear. Review the case studies. If you're not satisfied with the first one, ask them for a second one. Hey, now don't go crazy asking for 2, 3, 4, but you know what? Can I see another example? It doesn't really seem like this is a startup. This looks like more of an established business. I'm a startup. Can I see an example where you've done XYZ for a startup? And they should be able to give you something. Now, a subset of this, if I were going to say point A, 1A, is asking for a client list. Now, I'll tell you this. You are not entitled to see the client list. I'll repeat. You are not entitled to see the client list because some of the clients that PR representatives or publicists represent is confidential, especially if they are in industries with very high profile clients, celebrities, large businesses. I know I've represented some banks. I can't tell you that I'm representing them. So you can ask for a client list. I've seen, what I've seen a lot of us do is just give you examples of the ones that we're okay. We've kind of okayed it with our clients that we can share that we're representing them. And some are super happy to be repped by us. So they telling everybody, think 3 Media or whatever, So ask for the case studies. Yes, you are entitled to see previous results, but you're not entitled to see the client list. Now you can ask for it. Closed mouth don't get fed. Definitely ask for it. But know that they can come back and say no if that is confidential information. But you won't know that unless you ask, okay? What you're trying to gauge here is, do you have the capability to represent a business like mine? Do you have the skill set? Do you have the prior experience? Again, I'm just seeing way too many people signing off because they friends, cousin, baby mama, daddy said, go sign off with so-and-so because they know what they're doing. And then you end up getting screwed. All right. So that's number one. Number two, a question. Once you start having this conversation and you're narrowing it down, ask them, whoever you're courting, hey, so how long is this engagement? Like, how long typically are your contracts? I don't see this question being asked enough. Some of you guys get into contracts that are too short, so you're not giving the PR process enough time to unfold. And then some of you guys are getting into relationships that are too long, whereas the publicists are freaking rock stars. They're getting you what you want on the front end. And now you're kind of stuck in this long-term contract, and they're struggling some months to get you coverage because the contract is too long. So maybe the wave has fizzled out for you, and now you're stuck on this retainer. So how long is the engagement? I will tell you that I typically go a minimum of 3 months, depending on what it is. Okay, 6 months to me is a magical number. 12 months is a little bit too long. I don't even know if I like you yet. 12 months is like getting stuck in a relationship where you want out, but you can't get out, and you're like, it's bad, right? But there are some PR campaigns that should be a year long. I've worked on projects that it took us a year to get it off the ground, to work with marketing, to work with branding, to work with visuals. And for me, some of those projects end up being like events. Or really big campaigns where we have a year-long contract with someone. But 9 times out of 10, if it's a small business owner and you're launching something, or it's a product, or it's your event or a grand opening or something like that, 3 to 6 months is good. And then what we end up doing is at the end of the 3 months or the 6 months, we get together, we evaluate what worked, we evaluate weighted what doesn't work. We come up with a new plan based on your new goals, and we re-sign a new contract. So mine is a little bit different because we have touch points to re-review. Did we get the results that we were trying to get? And if not, let's set a new plan for the next 3 to 6 months to work towards that, versus you getting in this long-term relationship and you want out and you can't get out. I do have a client that we do probably 3 months a year together. We get everything he needs in the 3 months, and he's like, peace, I'll see you next year. And that's fine. We get him everything he needs in that 3 months. He's a small business owner, so I don't want to have him on retainer. So I quote him a flat fee for that. I don't put him on retainer. I don't want him giving me his hard-earned money that needs to be spent elsewhere when I know I got you everything you needed from a PR perspective in 3 months. So number 2, how long is the engagement? And if somebody quotes to you, and I've seen this happen before, well, I'll talk to so-and-so and they said 30 days. Who? And this, if somebody tells you 30 days, now granted, I've done some stuff in like a week and I don't like it. I charge a rush fee for that. But if somebody is telling you and you're newly established and it's a new campaign that they're going to do something for you in 30 days, I'm not saying that they can't. But for PR is just like marketing. It takes time. If you are a brand new business being exposed to these news anchors and editors and reporters, your publicist has to pitch you. And that takes time to figure out what story about you they actually like. And so in January, they may not be interested in your story. But let's say you're a Black-owned business and February is Black Business Month. All of a sudden, they're interested in you. So you see where now it's gone from 30 days to 60 days because it had to be pitched at the right time. So you have to give your publicist time to work these things out for you. If you're like, I had a guy recently wanted stuff in 30 days. We got him some stuff. But the full campaign in 30 days, I was like, no, sir, you can't have an influencer campaign, all this TV coverage. You want to be in print magazines, which is virtually impossible. You can't come to a publicist and want to be in print in 30 days. Most print magazines are working 60, 90. I've even had some recently where we were pitching and they were done with a December issue in August. So you cannot approach a publicist and not figure out your timing. So that's why this how long is the engagement is important. You want to build in time, but you also don't want it to be long enough where you feel like maybe this isn't working for me and I can't get out. All right. So that's number 2. Number 3, asking the potential publicist firm or agency about tracking. And when I say tracking, I mean, will I, if your PR campaign is focused on press and media, getting you into the press and media, will I be able to see who you're pitching, where is it going, and the status update? This is probably the number one complaint I see from folks that I work with. I always get a lot of kudos from clients on this issue alone, because they're like, man, it's been 60 days. I don't even know where the pitch is gone. I don't know who they've sent it to. I don't know what the status is, but I just know that retainer came up again and I paid again. And maybe I only got 2 placements in 1 month and 2 in another. And I'm just trying to figure out where my money is going. What I have found, Publicist, is if you can be as transparent as possible with your clients, whether that is having touch points, weekly, biweekly. For me, biweekly is probably enough. And provide them with some sort of tracking. And again, if you're the small business owner, you can ask for this, and you are absolutely entitled to see this, because this is determining what work is being done. So when I say tracking, what we do is we create a spreadsheet that is a Google Sheet. It is a live living document that the client can go into to see that, pursuant to the plan that we set, here's where that particular press release went, or here's how it was pitched. Here is when it was pitched. Here's when we followed up. Here's who it was pitched to. And here's the status. And I even have a notes tab just in case it's like, talk to the editor, can't get us in for 2 weeks, or talk to the editor, they decline this time. And, in that way, it cuts down our time on our calls, on our recap calls, but 2, the client is at ease because they know that the work is being done. And I'm not seeing a lot of publicists or agencies providing insight into the actual tracking part, maybe because it does take a lot of time. But the amount of peace you can get on both sides, knowing that I ain't out here not working for you, and on the small business owner sides, to have faith in your publicist that some of these pitches will pan out, all the better, right? So tracking. Please ask, what is your method of tracking, and will I have access to that? Did you know that podcasts are a great way to grow your personal and business brand voice? Listen, here's a secret. We all want to feel connected to brands we buy from. So what better way to humanize a brand than through sharing your story on a podcast? Think about it now. You in bright lights and on PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. Hey, it can happen. Listen, Kitcaster is a podcast booking agency. They're one of the friends of the show that specializes in developing real human connections through podcast appearances. So if you're an expert in your field, you have a unique story to share, or you have an interesting point of view, it is time for you to explore the world of podcasting with Kitcaster. You can expect a completely customized concierge service from their staff of communication experts. Kitcaster is your secret weapon in podcasting for business. Listen, your audience is waiting to hear from you. Don't make them wait too much longer. So what you're going to do, you're going to head to kitcaster.com. That is kitcaster.com/PR yourself to apply for a special offer for friends of this podcast. And listen, don't delay. Get with it today. A lot of your amazing guests that you guys love so much on this podcast came from Kitcaster. Don't delay. Next time it needs to be you. Number 4. Here's one that's come up recently. Let me say it again. Who is going to be working on my file? I'll repeat. Who is going to be working on my file? Why is this question important? Because some of you guys will see your favorite publicist, i.e. me, i.e. others, whoever out there working. And when you come through the door, you want us. You don't want Leah, I ain't trying to work with nobody else. Well, I'm one person. So there needs to be transparency and expectations set up front from the publicist or the agency or firm to the potential client that you're 9 times out of 10, maybe you'll get the founder, right? If you're a small business like me, you're going to get me to some extent. But there's also going to be times where maybe you get a junior level publicist or an associate, or you will have an intern that's actually working on the file. Or if you go to a larger firm or agency, they have specific account managers that are designated per industry. So if you're in the beauty industry, you may get Sally Sue over here. If you're in technology, you may be going with Marie. But you're not going to necessarily go with the publicist that's more public facing that you're thinking you're going to work with. So you need to ask, oh, this is great. So who's going to be working potentially on my file? How many people will be assigned? And that helps in so many ways. It helps to maintain expectations. It lets you know that round the clock, there's going to be people working on your items. Or if you're working with a freelance publicist, it allows you to know that maybe if it's just them working, then again, you have that grace when it comes to the number of hours that are being worked or the output, because now you can conceptualize that I have 1 people working on my file, or I have 4. If you have 4 and you're only getting 1 hit a month, yeah, I'd be questioning, where's my money going towards? Because you got 4 hands in this and I only got 1 interview. But if you're only paying a certain amount and you're working with a freelance publicist, you cannot have the same expectations that you would place on a firm or agency that's going to have 4 or 5 people working on your account. So you have to ask, who is going to be working on my file? Another reason why this is important is some of you guys want to work with us, and that is great. Like I'm not offended when somebody's like, girl, I ain't really trying to work with Carrie or Marianne. I came to Think Through Media because I'm trying to work with you, which is great. But when that happens, now you need to have the expectation that when you're trying to work with the senior level or the most experienced, that comes with a senior level and experience pricing. So you're going to have to be prepared to pay premium for requesting that someone of that stature is the only one that works on your file. And this reminds me of my law firm days, where I was more of before I became a senior associate, I was more of a junior associate. There was different levels of billing. So of course, when it came to our client files, the more junior associates we had working on it, the less it cost the client. The moment my partner had to take a look at it, when I tell you that price probably jumped up from $175 an hour to $450 an hour. So the client is like, keep it in Leah's hands as long as possible because we ain't trying to have that bill jump up. That's kind of the same thought process here. If you can get a good mix of some interns, some junior associates, and then a senior one that manages the project as like a project manager, you're in really good hands. But once you want that senior level all day long, please be prepared to pay senior level pricing. Okay. And my last one, number 5, asking the publicist or the agency or firm, what is your reporting mechanism? And I'll tell you why this is important. Because I am so sick of people asking, what's the ROI on PR? There is an ROI. However, I can't vouch for the return on investment for PR if the firms, the agencies, or the publicists aren't necessarily telling you what the value of the placement is. You are entitled to that. So I have a client, we work on an annual holiday event every single year. And as soon as that holiday event wraps, before December 31st, I owe them a report of everywhere it was placed, the dollar value of the placements, the engagement, the impressions. I mean, it is so detailed. I ain't even gonna lie to y'all. I hate that time of year. It's one of those things like when that report is done, I'm pouring several glasses of champagne because it ends up being probably close to 20 pages long. But through that report, the client can say, we spent this much paying Leah. We spent this much in paid advertisement. We got this much in earned media, which is free. And they're able to take all of those numbers. Oh, we got millions and millions and millions of impressions. We got this much in free TV and free radio and da-da-da. And they can say emphatically and even go back to because it's for a nonprofit, they can go back to the board and say, we can rehire Leah, or this did push the needle forward for the organization, or this was worth our money. They can also show their sponsors. It helps them to get more sponsors for their event. So reporting is important so that you can lay your head down at night knowing that what you're putting your money into is working for you. However, if you go through an entire process with a publicist, with an agency, with a firm, and they don't provide you with a report of at least a dollar value of your placements or how many impressions it's getting or eyes on that thing, so you know it's working for you, that's kind of a problem. Now, some of you guys, should I be asking for a weekly report, a bi-weekly report? Honestly, I think a monthly report is okay. And if you're doing an event, I don't think a monthly report should be asked for. Probably more of like an event recap. Let the entire event or the event campaign roll through and then ask for a report that finalizes the results at the end of the event. If you are doing some sort of retainer-based PR where they are getting you X amount of placements per month, then a monthly report showing the value of what you've received that month is okay. But anything more than that, weekly, bi-weekly, that's a little bit much when you can just get that report from your publicist or your PR firm on a monthly basis. Okay. So just to recap, number one, you're going to ask for case studies. You're going to try to ask for a client list, but may or may not get it. You're not entitled to that, but you are entitled to case studies on the onset in the dating process. This isn't after you sign the contract. You need to see this before you decide to sign the contract with a PR firm or the publicist. Number two, you're going to ask, how long is this engagement for? Okay. Number three, you're going to ask, what is your tracking mechanism? How am I going to be able to see what's being pitched, what the status is? How do you provide that information to the client and see what they come back with? Number four, who is working on my file? And number five, what type of reporting do you provide? Is it monthly? Is it every quarter? What type of reports are you going to provide so that I can see the return on my investment? And like I said, I did promise you guys a bonus. I'm seeing now more than often during the intake process, not the intake process, sorry, the just kind of the beginning process before contracts are signed, where the client is asking for a PR plan. I don't particularly like doing that. I will give you an overview of what I think you should do. Problem being is I'm not going to sit at home because the PR plans that I write take days. I'm not going to take over 48 hours, not 48 hours. That's a bit of a stretch. I'm not going to take all this time to craft out a PR plan for you to say thank you and use it and go hire somebody else. So if a publicist or an agency is telling you, no, I'm not giving you a PR plan before we sign a contract, that is why. And I've had that happen to me so many times where I've and one was with a college institution where they're like, yeah, we're ready to go, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, here's the plan. And they were like, we're probably going to hire for this later. And I never heard from them. So I'm not taking my sweet, precious time that should be devoted elsewhere to craft a full-fledged step-by-step PR plan for you not to hire me. Now, what we can do in the alternative is say, similarly in your situation, this is probably what we should do. And so I do have a bullet pointed list in a basic campaign. This is what you would get for your money. But the details of how we're going to do it, I'm not giving that to you until we sign a contract. And that is point blank, period. So that is the bonus. You can ask for a PR plan. Some will give it to you. If you were coming to me, I'm not giving it to you. I'm giving you more of this is what is typically included, but I'm not going to give you the how, because that is my time. You haven't paid any money or any sort of deposit for me to take that type of time to build out a plan for you. And yeah, you may decide to go somewhere else, and now I've wasted my time. So that's the bonus. So with that being said, I hope that this has helped you out tremendously. If you have questions, you know what to do. Please definitely reach out at PR Yourself Podcast on Instagram, or you can reach out to me personally at the Leah Frazier on all social media channels. I hope this has helped you. Please definitely tab this one, share it with some friends. This one came from the heart, straight off the dome. And yeah, I have some more stuff popping for you guys. Definitely leave a rating and review. Again, this helps us to expand. It helps us to get sponsors for the show. It helps me to record more, and it helps to shoot this podcast up the ranks. Right now, we're number 8 in the world, but me being the overachiever that I am, I really want to get to number 1. So I can't do that without your help. So like I said, next up, in our next episode, we're going to be talking about 5 things a publicist should be asking you. So this still applies to you. If they're not asking you these questions, beep, beep, move over. We going on to the next one. On to the next one, like Jay-Z said, okay? 5 things a publicist should be asking you. And like I said, we have some other amazing interviews coming up. Those particularly dealing with PR and politics. I'm so excited to drop that one. So definitely keep it locked in. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time.